Hi, welcome to the Bagel Podcast. Good episode, guys. All right, cool.
Hey, we're 18 now. We're adults.
You guys are adults. This is awkward for me.
You're still in puberty.
Well, if we're going by episode count, Holden's 17 because he missed one.
Oh yeah, that's still fine. 18 counts.
Okay. Yeah, you got the one to grow on candle.
Oh yeah, the underlined candle.
Yeah.
Way to go.
I knocked over his pizza.
Yeah, now it's all over the floor. But we're not concerned because we had spaghetti last night.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of equals out.
Italian.
No, spaghetti.
Spaghetti.
But yeah, me and Grayson were talking. I guess it's good to talk. We're talking about the console, like
The
console era.
The console.
Yeah, the era of consoles.
I think it speaks for itself, the console, you know.
Yeah. What do you think was the best era of consoles, like competing?
2006.
Really?
That's kind of what we said.
Yeah. We said PS3 versus.
But I also think,
The early 2000s was pretty big though too.
yeah, but I also think Super Nintendo versus Genesis was pretty...
That was pretty big.
Pretty tight.
It was pretty split,
That was
too.
huge, but that was only a two-way battle.
So was the PS3 and Xbox.
Well, that had the Wii.
Well,
also.
I think
Wii was
because
kinda
I
there,
think
but
because it was a
Wii
two-way...
sold more than the PS3 and Xbox.
It did.
Yep.
It did? Yeah.
Yeah, it was like insane. Like it beat them out like considerably.
Wii
I think the
is
four, like you could argue the early 2000s when it was Dreamcast versus GameCube versus PlayStation versus original Xbox.
Well, that's probably actually it's probably the most hats that were in the ring, but it was pretty high. But I think
Yeah.
like with like Sega versus Nintendo, I think because it was just two, it kind of made it more easy to follow along. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely.
It was like you had to pick one of two.
Because when you had the 4 come along, like, PlayStation was pretty big, and then PlayStation 2 is the most sold console.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, Sony was kind of on top of the world at that moment. Xbox was just making the scene.
Yeah.
Halo pretty much saved it. That was it. And then Dreamcast was, like, Sega's last hope, and it died.
Yeah.
But it was still a good console. And then
Everyone-
GameCube is pretty damn good. So.
I think by that point, everyone just wanted the new blood in the industry.
Yeah, PlayStation and Xbox. And then they were the top dogs. Or had the kind of fighting between each other. And PC didn't really make a scene until now. Because PC's always been around, but now it's like the main thing.
Well, back in the day, it was like, I guess you would
Pop
get
Tropica.
shooters on there.
Yeah, you're going to play Pop Tropica and Counter-Strike.
You know what? They've got porn games. None of the consoles do. So.
Yeah, and Half-Life.
Yeah.
Those were all you could play.
Mm-hmm.
But, what do you guys think is like the greatest console of all time?
The Wii.
The Wii? But was it like... it was pretty good, but...
Is that like what you think is the most influential, like the best, or your favorite?
I'd say more like the greatest, like, what was the greatest console for gaming? Like, what boosted gaming?
Like really kick things off?
Yeah, when this thing came out, what just made everyone want to get it?
I would say, I don't know. I think the Super Nintendo was pretty.
I was gonna say
Pretty
that.
good.
That is pretty kicked off gaming, pretty big.
Because it was kind of it was more akin to like what arcades were at the time. It was kind of like having an arcade in your house.
Yeah, because it was all the ports.
Yeah.
So that was pretty like huge for the time
Mm-hmm.
to get all the ports you wanted.
Mm-hmm. It was also
Like
it
your
had
own.
great third party support. Like the last Nintendo console to get phenomenal third party support
It's
in a
definitely
long time.
Super Nintendo. Yeah, that has to be up there because that like really. I'd say PS2 was pretty damn good for
I
its
agree.
time.
Yeah.
Like you could do so much.
Well,
on it.
the fact that it was a DVD player, where at the time
Others
that was
couldn't do
expensive.
it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like getting a DVD player in of itself was pretty costly. So to have that in your gaming console is pretty good.
It's probably why it sold so well.
Definitely.
Yeah, like 360 is up there. I don't think it really hits the cigar though, but it was very influential to gaming, like the culture, if you will, of it.
Yeah.
And the like community.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone like 360 was on top of the world. Like everyone knew what that was.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, the Xbox kind of at that time became synonymous with gaming as a whole.
Yeah.
It was, if I told you maybe like get off the Xbox, it didn't necessarily mean what it actually, like, literally
get
get off the
off
Xbox,
there,
but it just
like-
meant stop gaming, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but it was in
For a
like,
long time, that was the case.
it was in like movies and
Yeah.
media so much, and there's
Yeah.
even the stuff that sparked off like the controversy of like violent video games makes children kill each other.
Yeah.
That was like very big
Yeah.
at that point. Yeah, George Bush. We must stop the violent video games.
And then we're gonna do a bunch of violent shit elsewhere in the world.
Yeah. Don't play video games. Play them in real life.
Exactly.
Kill people in real life.
Good idea.
But yeah, it's because now like me and Grayson talked about earlier, gaming it's very interesting now. It's almost kind of, if you were the fan of that already before you're gonna go to it. They don't really advertise. They don't try to get the other, like when PS4 and Xbox One came out. We talked about like they tried to pick off the other fan bases, but now they don't even try to. It's just like if you're already an Xbox fan, already a PlayStation fan, already PC, you're just gonna stick to it.
Well,
Yeah.
Or Nintendo, you're just gonna stick to it.
Kyle Price and Jacob, who were on like episode, I don't fucking know, but they were Xbox guys for the longest time, and now they're playing PlayStation.
Yeah, which is interesting. Was it 5s?
Yeah.
The 5, I'd probably say, even as a PlayStation guy, is worse than the Series X.
I like the PS4 was really good.
Yeah, it was better than the 1, I'd say.
And then the PS5s, I haven't played the 5 enough to know, but I don't really care about new gen consoles.
Yeah, PC is kind of where it's at, I'd say. But
Yeah.
still, I'd say just say the Series X is because Microsoft has bought everything. So
Yeah.
I
Well,
mean,
PlayStation's kind of starting to, I think.
yeah, trying, but they're not getting good
They got
companies.
Bungie, right?
Yeah, but Bungie sucks now.
It's like they don't make Halo anymore, so
Yeah, they make Destiny. What, are we all gonna get Destiny exclusives?
Right. No one gives a shit.
And they were looking to get Ubisoft, which is even worse.
Yeah, why the fuck would you get Ubisoft?
So we can play Destiny and buy NFTs.
No, so you can play Imagine Wedding Designers.
Yeah.
Best Ubisoft game.
It's kind of and they haven't capitalized on a lot of their previous franchises that were good, and they lost a lot of their good franchises. I feel like if they would have held on to like a Metal Gear Solid, or really expand, or maybe done something with Uncharted, which they still haven't. Maybe they will, but they still haven't yet. The only thing they've done is Horizon.
Well, are we talking like recent and last?
Yeah, PS5.
Okay.
Only PS5. So it's, yeah, that's where it's kind of like, I wish they would either maybe make a new exclusive. God of War is supposed to come out, but that's on PC. They literally added it to PC, so what's the point of getting a PlayStation anymore?
Well, that's the thing too, is that not everyone wants to get a PC. Because the console market is it's still very...
Yeah, because it's a cheaper alternative.
It's the nostalgic feeling as well, like from
Definitely.
people who played the original PlayStation. They're like, oh, I'm gonna get every console of this.
Yeah,
and a lot of people just...
collectors as well.
Well, yeah.
A lot of people like the convenience of it, because with the PC, it's kind of like you can upgrade the parts and pieces to it, but not everyone wants to go, okay, here's a new graphics card coming out, let me buy that and put that in my computer. No, not everyone wants to do that.
The only thing, like, the purchasing rates are kind of, like, statistically inaccurate now, because they're arguably more scalped than... So they're going to be like, oh, look, we're doing pretty good on sales, but no, some fat ass bought 500 of PS5s and sold them all for thousands of dollars.
Well, that's happening too with computer parts, like graphics
Yeah,
cards.
especially recently. So it's like everyone, like, unless you already had it for a while, or got, like, a PC that was already built, you can't really get a good deal.
Yeah.
Like, I don't see any reason of paying more than I should for a PS5. Especially since there's no games on it. Why would I buy it?
And the thing about PC too is that it's such a hard market to gauge, like how many people have a PC just because all the parts and pieces to it.
Yeah. You kind of have to know about it.
Yeah, it's... I forgot what I was going to say about it. If anyone else wants to chime in, go ahead.
I'd say the thing with PC is you need, like, Steam. I'd say Steam is almost like that extra console, if you will. It just happens to be on PC. Because Steam is really good at, like, the catalog of gaming. You can just get so much. And since they have the Game Pass from Xbox, if you have a Series X, you can pretty much connect it to a monitor and it'll pretty much act like a PC.
You could also just play any fucking game from the history of like every console on PC because you can
emulation
download
too.
it.
Emulators or again, Steam has a lot, pretty much everything.
Yeah, but I think too it's
Remember when Crash Bandicoot was an exclusive? Now it's on everything.
It is, yeah.
I think it's even on Steam now. So
yeah,
it is on Steam.
But,
I bought it on Steam.
Really?
That's funny. But I think it's also just if you buy, let's say you buy a Switch, you know that when you buy Mario Odyssey, that game was made for it. It's going to work.
Yep.
But with something like Cyberpunk showed us that, even if you've got like a great built PC, that's a bad example, but not every game's gonna run on any PC. It's kind of depends on what you've got. And
because Cyberpunk was weird though, where you kind of needed a PC for it to run properly.
Well, it ran okay on the newer consoles, but not the older ones.
Yeah, it was dumb they released it for the older ones at all, and not have like something to compensate for it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, because PCs, I mean, typically will be able to run everything. All you need is just a PC that is from the 2010s and can pretty much run anything.
Yeah. With varying degrees. Of
you can run like a newer game. You'd probably need it more low res, but you'd still be able to run it.
Yeah. But when you play it on like an Xbox or something, that it's been tested on that, so it's going to work with what you have because you have the same thing they tested it on.
Yeah, it's just the catalog within those is what's beyond. You won't be able to play other games.
Right.
You won't be able to play like, Team Fortress 2 really on the new one.
But not everyone really wants to play that because I think again, gaming is just kind of something that
it's preference.
You've basically been locked into whatever console you're gonna play for years at this point. You're not gonna randomly switch sides, and most of the time, if you're in gaming and heavily involved in it, you've kind of have your hat in the ring. If you're very dead set on it. Yeah,
because I'd say the greatest thing PC probably has to offer is just that it's not only for gaming.
Mm-hmm.
You could use that for work. Like you could just have a home PC, and it'll pretty much be everything entirely you need online. You could just use that at your house. You can't really do that with any of the others. It's just the external use.
Mm-hmm.
Which I mean, the others provide with like DVD players, but that's about it.
Yeah.
No one's gonna be doing their taxes on the fucking Xbox Series X.
Well, actually, the Super Nintendo had something you could do your taxes.
Really?
On. Yeah.
That's pretty funny. What a Nintendo thing to do.
I know. Yeah. That was. It's so funny looking back on those too, because nowadays, especially like during the one when that was coming out, it's like this isn't a video game console; it's a home media console, which I guess that's true of like any console nowadays. But back in the day, it's like you think of a Super Nintendo, it's not exactly something that you would do anything other than play games on, but the fact that there were things that you could actually do your taxes on your Super Nintendo was so funny to me.
Yeah. And even now, like, the Switch has you could pay for the calculator.
Yeah.
The Mario calculator.
Yeah. There's speed runs for that, too.
Yeah,
the calculator.
$6 Mario calculator.
It's ridiculous.
It's got the Woz.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else? I'd say, again, like, what do you think was the greatest era of media in general? This doesn't not even have to be gaming related.
I would say 90s.
Yeah, 90s was pretty. 90s was such a built on what the 80s had.
Mm-hmm.
Because the 80s is my favorite decade in general, but media-wise, the 90s really, like, took an extra step.
Yeah.
Especially with personal computers, everyone pretty much had that by the 90s came around. Or it was becoming huger, because personal computers existed even in the 70s, but it's not like anyone had them.
Yeah.
Or anyone really had them in the 80s either. But in the 90s, they really started to roll around. Especially late 90s, we started to see a lot. When did the flat screen TVs come out?
That was 2000s.
2000s? Okay. But, yeah. I also wanted to, when was the first flip phone? Early 2000s?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like 02 or something.
02.
Probably around that point, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Which is weird where it's, with us, we, like, grew up with such a changes.
Yeah.
So I don't know, I grew up with like a lot of VHS stuff and random
Same.
80s, 90s things.
Mm-hmm.
Growing up, not really the 2000s things, but then you start to get them more and more, and it's like very evolving. Because I remember, you guys probably remember, like when the first smartphones were coming out.
Mm-hmm.
Because my family didn't get it for like the first smartphone for a while.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when like the BlackBerry, when it had Wi-Fi, it was a huge deal.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what my dad had for a while.
Yeah, the BlackBerry. But yeah, and iPads and stuff. iPads are kind of obsolete now.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't really seen them.
Did you guys see that they're discontinuing the iPod Touch?
Really?
Yeah. which I was surprised that they're still making
they were
them.
still making it?
Yeah, but I guess they're discontinuing it.
Do they still make the little nanos? Remember the little nanos?
I don't know. I just know that they're like discontinuing that, which I had no idea they were still making iPods, because it seems like iPods were just something that
just for music.
Yeah, well, that, and it was kind of like a smartphone without the phone. It was just they kind of mixed the two together to create the iPhone. So.
Yeah, because these are pretty much,
Right.
music machines for us. I mean,
Right.
they're not. You just look it up, and for free, because on those you typically have to buy the music and have a catalog. The nano things were pretty interesting because they're like, the whole point is them, you like hook them in while you work out.
Yeah.
That was an interesting thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when they were around. I don't think they ever really kicked off, but
Mm-hmm.
it was an interesting concept.
Yeah.
Remember Google Glasses?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So weird how that was like. I don't know. It's like, how was that even gonna work?
The future of seeing.
Yeah, it's weird. Yeah, because I think in the early 2010s is when they stopped really trying to innovate technology super hard, because it still does. It still happens. It's just like this process is faster or whatever.
Yeah, it just kind of sucks.
It's not, the innovations they make aren't necessarily something you could tell me and I'd be able to see very easily. It's not.
Yeah.
You can put a pair of glasses on your face and that's your phone.
The biggest thing is probably VR, because like metaverse.
Yeah.
The experimentation.
Which no one is like thrilled about that.
Yeah, it's kind of like a Google Glass situation where it's like we're all going to use VR and sit in an office.
Like,
But Donovan's happy about that.
Yeah. Hitting people in VR.
It'd be like the one show, the VR Trooper show that John Trump.
Oh yeah, that. He had the Nintendo taped around his.
Tape a Virtual Boy to your face.
Yeah.
You look so fucking awesome.
That's so interesting. Nintendo was like first to do that way back when with the Virtual Boy.
Well, they were always like, with modern consoles, obviously like PlayStation and Xbox are the ones that are that more corporate innovation of let's just make a faster. Let's put a faster piece in this console.
Yeah,
but
the only thing
Nintendo
they did
was
Connect and Move.
Yeah, and then Nintendo would do innovation in like, what's the weird thing that we can do? Let's add motion control. Let's turn the console into a lunchbox. They would just do all the wacky stuff. And back in like the Virtual Boy days, it's like they were trying to do 3D at that point, but the world was not ready for it, and I don't think Nintendo was either.
Because they didn't even have a head strap.
And I think that was a big thing when they, that was terrible, because you had to have it on your table and then put your face up into it. But and it took them until like the 3DS, and that was a thing that people were like, I don't know if you should try 3D again when the 3DS was coming out, but and no one ended up using the 3D.
I remember in like there was a 2010 interview with a couple of people from an old channel I watched, and they were talking about the 3DS coming out. And then the Wii U was announced at that time as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then they were like, the 3DS is just going to flop, but the Wii U is going to be really expensive.
That's so opposite of what happened. Yeah, it's just funny. The 3DS was like competing with the Wii for a long time, because things were coming out on the Wii U that would get ported to the 3DS.
So it's like, why go on the Wii U, really?
It's even like something like Smash came out on the 3DS.
Yeah, I forgot that. Yeah. Do you have that?
Yeah.
Of course, you gotta have Smash. Okay.
Well, there goes Madden 08.
Damn it.
That was just my
best one
for my TV that I was gonna use.
Yeah, but though the reason I think Smash 3DS sold so well, all things considered, was because it came out before the Wii U version by a few months. So everyone was like, well, I'm not just gonna not play Smash for a few months when the new one's technically out on the 3DS. So people bought it on the 3DS, which
it came out like a month before it came out on the Wii U.
Yeah, I would like to see the sales though, because I want to see how much the 3DS sold in comparison to the.
I think the Wii U sold more. Actually.
Yeah,
okay.
Because it was really polished,
mm-hmm.
and it still
for the time.
It still looks good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it wasn't bad.
No, yeah, it's just in the world of competitive.
And the Wi-Fi was a lot better on the Wii U. The 3DS Wi-Fi.
Surprisingly,
was very good.
Yeah.
Which is surprising because Mario Kart 7 is pretty good.
Yeah.
Then again, Mario Kart Wii's online was amazing, and Brawl's online was dog shit.
Yeah. So weird. Nintendo's and all online on the Switch is just bad. It's just really not.
I haven't really experienced online on the Switch.
Really?
I have it, but I've never played on it. I did it like once.
Nintendo's never been the best with online games.
They're still living in like 2000.
That's where that's where Xbox
And PlayStation really
Start.
knocked it out of the park.
I think Xbox started it though,
Mhm.
and then PlayStation tried copying, and that's why it was like $700 at launch or something.
Yeah, the only thing they had them was free online.
Yeah.
Because virtually for as long as they lasted, you were paying in fees every year for Xbox. It kind of evened out eventually. But PlayStation is an interesting time too, because that was when they got hacked. Because they got hacked,
yeah, I
and they were
remember that.
out for like months, and then the Xbox, especially, was still around, so everyone was like, "Oh, let's go, it's protected." This kind of sucks when you have like a free one. It wasn't as protected.
Yeah.
And then they just made it paid sneakily, but oddly enough, PS4 I'd still say is better than 1, because Xbox really dropped the ball on a lot of stuff. And their saving grace, which is usually Halo,
Yeah.
was shit. So
I watched old videos also. Achima Owner talked about this, and they have a huge bias towards Xbox, obviously.
Yeah.
In 2012 or 2013, when they were launching the PS4 and Xbox One, or about to, the press for Xbox One and PS4, Achima Owner even admitted that Xbox One, they did terrible at presenting,
Yes.
and the PS4 did really well.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing: is that the Xbox was awful because when they unveiled the Xbox One, it was like they were trying to go with the route that this isn't just a gaming console; it's a home media console.
Yeah.
But they forgot about the games. Like there were 0 games shown.
Yeah,
when
the
they were showing off.
PS4 had way more games at launch.
And then the awful thing that really shot them in the foot was the DRM at the time was like you couldn't resell games or trade games with people, which is a huge reason for physical media, is so that you can give someone else a game and they can play it. And they were talking about getting rid of that, and people were not happy. And then like PlayStation's presentation, their way of saying we're not doing DRM was they had somebody just give someone else a PlayStation 4 game and like shake their hand and look at the camera.
Basically, just trashing Xbox a bit.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Which I have an Xbox.
The PS4 also, I think they had more pizzazz with their presentation than Xbox.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they showed games, which is the big thing.
And it sucks because E3 isn't really a thing anymore.
No.
Yeah.
Since
Well,
they
it straight up
canceled.
got canceled this year.
Yeah, so I wonder if they're really going to be pushing, because what they did this year was just show a bunch of stuff, like a conference. And they said they might be doing that forward, which kind of sucks.
I like what Nintendo's doing. They are just releasing stuff on their channel, like in E3, every so often. I don't know when the next Direct is. It's called Nintendo Direct.
Yep.
Yeah.
But that's always fun to watch.
They're always hype, yeah.
There's only a couple that I didn't like, but every other one's been good.
Yeah. Recently they've been very good when they come out.
I just remember the one that was hated because they didn't talk about Smash enough or whatever.
Oh yeah.
But they had some good games coming out, but everyone was like, please just announce this character already.
Yeah, I remember E3 was always rough for Nintendo, and 2015 was the worst for them because they showed 0 games that were they showed games that were coming out, they just weren't very good. And that was also the peak of the Wii U era and just not a fun time. And then I think the next year they showed off Breath of the Wild exclusively, and they're like, because this game's gonna be good, so we're gonna show this.
I actually enjoyed the Wii U era from 2012 to 2014, and then 2015 it kind of died. So it was a 3-year existence.
Which is weird because 2015 was my favorite year to be alive, and that E3 was just very bad. Yeah. But it was, I don't know, I had good memories aside from it.
2013.
Yeah.
2013 was a good year.
The Wii U actually had a decent launch. They had a lot of good launch games, but they just didn't come out with much stuff after that.
Yeah. For gaming in general, I'd just say 11, 12, and 13 were really good years. 14 was even pretty good. 15, 16 on kind of started to dwindle a bit.
17 was alright.
Yeah.
Well, 2017 was when the Switch came out, which obviously just brought the second coming of Christ.
For
Nintendo, at least.
Yeah, especially since the new generation wasn't that great. Because towards the tail end of 360 and PS3 was so good, we were just getting back-to-back great years of gaming.
Yeah, and it was here we go, next generation, let's go, and just
Yeah, it was just completely dropped the ball. And then it was just buy a bunch of remasters and remakes and stuff.
Yeah.
Because I think even some of the best selling games on both of them were remakes, which is ironic. Not even their own exclusives that were made for that console can't get money.
That's kind of the thing against Xbox right now is where the hell are the exclusives at?
Yeah, because PlayStation has been like the first that, albeit like it's not my preferred ones, but they released with exclusives like Horizon,
Mhm.
which is a fairly popular
Right.
like genre, but again, that's only if people that have PlayStations are gonna play it,
Mhm.
and there are less PlayStation 5s than Xboxes even. So,
Yeah,
and it's scalpers probably have like what, half of them. So
true. Yeah,
yeah,
it's
not many people are probably playing it.
that's the thing too. Where with the PlayStation 5, that at least felt like a new console in some ways because you had new games for it. But with the Series X, as a Series X owner, I just like I don't know. It felt like a Xbox that was slightly more fancy than the last
Yeah.
one.
And
Yeah.
I think that also helps with like the way the console looks because the Xboxes look the same since.
Yeah.
Well, the 360 was different,
Yeah,
but PlayStation changes up their design every time.
pretty
to-
much. The 5 looks way different than the 4, and the 4
Yeah.
looks way
Mhm.
different than the 3.
Yeah.
The new one just looks
And then the
insane.
Yeah.
And the PS1 looks really different from the 2.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
that's-
was such a
Obviously, yeah.
gray to black.
Yeah.
Um,
PlayStation 2 is so badass.
yeah, especially the advertisement, and
Mhm.
Did
it was grittier too. It was like this is
The
adults.
startup sound, dude.
Yeah.
PS2 was it put the sticks on the controller, right? That was the
Yeah,
first
Yeah.
one.
analog sticks.
Yeah. And then PS1 just had the D-pad and the buttons.
Yeah, which is weird.
Yeah.
It's weird to think of it
Yeah.
without analog sticks.
Mm-hmm.
So Crash 1 was on.
Yeah.
Well, all 3 Crash games.
Well, yeah, I played Crash on PS2 though,
Mm.
because I never had a PS1. Yeah, I do definitely feel like PS2 was just such a
Yeah.
insanely good console. Had such good games.
Mhm.
Definitely darker and grittier. Had a lot more horror, adult, I guess you could say, rated M games
Yeah.
at the time than others. Dreamcast was very interesting. It was, I
Yeah.
think it was even like the most powerful console when it came out of all of them, but it just didn't have the games,
Their
Yeah.
problem is that they have
and it was expensive.
they have games on it that were also on GameCube.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So, and PlayStation even had some games that Dreamcast had as well.
Yeah.
It's just unfortunate that they didn't really have exclusives anymore at that point.
Yeah.
And they just died out.
The homebrew scene for Dreamcast is very good.
Oh,
they
yeah.
they still make games actually
Yeah.
for Dreamcast nowadays, which
Which
is
is
really funny to
interesting.
think. Yeah.
Homebrew is really cool.
Because of it, I don't even think you don't even need to mod it because there's just no protection on like the reading of discs. So if you
Yeah.
just write a game on a blank disc, it'll just read the game and you could play
yeah,
it. So
which
it's
is
so
awesome with
interesting.
Dreamcast.
Yeah.
And Dreamcast was really, it was just, too expensive and not a lot of them. So
Mhm.
America, their market wasn't great because you could go and get a PS1. Those were like always available, or even the original Xboxes were pretty available.
Also the-
Dreamcast
yeah.
wasn't. And GameCube, it was pretty available.
Also, the controller was just bizarre because the cord
Yeah,
came
the
out the
little-
bottom and you had to hook it at the top, and it was like what?
Yeah, and the little screen in
Yeah,
the middle.
which that was kind of cool, but yeah.
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 But if you compare that controller to what Nintendo came out with, probably their best controller, and then the
Mhm.
PlayStation put
Yeah.
joysticks on there, so they're like, oh hey,
Yeah.
Yeah.
hmm
it's just
Dreamcast, definitely a fun console to look back on. Last
Yeah.
hurrah for Sega.
Yeah, it's so weird.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll see a plug and play.
Didn't they come?
Dreamcast.
Didn't they come out with like a bunch of Genesises?
Like the Sega Genesis Classic.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah,
I think they did.
Genesis has, but Sega Genesis, I have one. It doesn't have a lot of like classic games you'd think it would have. It doesn't have all the Sonics.
My brother has one, and it does. It's a more recent one.
Oh,
Mm.
the original one didn't have, like, when it came out, didn't have a lot of games for some
Mm.
reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Sega was just. I have a soft spot for Sega just because I'm a big Sonic fan and everything. So
Oh,
it's just
yeah.
fun to look back on.
Yeah, 'cause,
Sega Sonic versus Mario.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, so strange.
Good advertisements.
Yeah, Sega. Yeah, Genesis
then-
does what Nintendo don't.
Yeah.
And then and then after the Dreamcast was dead, they came out with this Mario and Sonic series,
Yeah.
which was a fun series.
The Olympics.
Yeah. I think that started in 2008, and then
Yeah.
they're still doing it.
hmm
So I have 2012, but that's about it.
Olympic Winter Games on the Wii was that was like my favorite.
That's a
Yeah,
good
that was
one.
really fun.
I think 2012 is my favorite, but it's the only one I have.
Yeah, it's just interesting because, and then the big moment was in Brawl when Sonic came over. It was like,
Brawl.
holy crap, you know?
Yeah, I think Snake was a bigger story than Sonic, though.
Snake, oddly enough, Snake kind of stole the show because it was Nintendo. I don't think Metal Gear Solid had been on a Nintendo. Well, if you argue with the NES, but as far as Metal Gear Solid goes, he wasn't really anywhere near Nintendo at the time. So it was like, why is he here? But then Ultimate was just like, oh, here's, fucking all these other characters that are
just
owned by other companies and stuff. Yeah.
Even the smallest.
Minecraft Steve.
Yeah. So insane.
And then all the like rumors that they were gonna add like even crazier.
Had Joker.
Yeah, Joker's so random, and it was a weird version of Joker.
Yeah, not the Cesar Romero one.
No, that would have been cool. It would have been cool if they did the costumes of each of the eras, but.
Imagine they put fucking
Cesar
straight up Joker in there.
Cesar Romero. Or Joaquin Phoenix's Joker.
That'd be funny. You get what you fucking deserve. That's his final smash. They just see like the other character at like a talk show host desk.
Yeah, he
shoots him in the head.
I think we had enough of your jokes.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it was just funny to see all the DLC. Banjo-Kazooie was like the big one for me. That was like, hell yes,
awesome.
finally.
It was cool.
Hopefully they make a new. I want to see a new Banjo-Kazooie game, and because Rare's like my favorite like third-party developer of all time.
That's something that Crash is kind of my Banjo for you.
Yeah.
And that's the opposite of what happened. They put Banjo in Smash. They didn't put Crash in
Yeah.
Smash, but they came out with a new Crash game, but didn't come out with a new Banjo game.
Yeah.
So.
Everyone kind of gets something and something that they don't. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if we'll see like another Banjo.
I think so. I mean, it's
maybe 3.
Nowadays, I feel like there's
That's
more.
Banjo 3E.
I feel like them bringing them into Smash was almost like a, just test the waters a little bit to see how popular these characters really are, and and Xbox and Nintendo have been very like buddy for the past couple years, which is weird.
Yeah.
But maybe we'll see it on a Nintendo console. That would be like a fanboy's dream come true, and I don't think it's entirely unlikely. So.
No. But yeah, Snow Waluigi.
Obviously, I would want to see Waluigi in Smash.
It trolled.
I think that right when they revealed him, I don't think there was a shot in hell that we were gonna get him in the game. But it was just like, well,
it just doesn't make sense. Maybe we'll be in the next one.
Yeah.
I hope there's not a next one. I hope this is the last one of the series.
Ever?
I think they'll keep making them. You make too much money off of them.
I know they're gonna keep making them, but I think they should stop here.
I think they should do that with like a
lot
lot
of
of franchises.
They should probably take a break, not stop forever. But
which is what they'll do.
make a new PlayStation All Stars in the meantime. Actually, everyone's making their own All Stars game.
Yeah.
So who knows?
PlayStation All Stars.
They had
Nathan
Nickelodeon. They had like a Warner Brothers one. It's just everyone's doing their own shit now.
Soul Calibur is kind of like that because they have like Star Wars characters in them.
There was one. Cartoon Network did it before everyone started doing it. They made a game called Punch Time Explosion.
I know you're talking about.
Which came out on the 3DS, and they ported it to the Wii with like new stuff called Punch Time Explosion XL. That one's really fun.
Because I remember playing as Ed, and Eddie.
Yeah.
It was a Flash game on the computer. It was, I think it was Cartoon Network. It might have been.
A fight game?
Yeah. And you can play as like a bunch of different characters. It might have been Nickelodeon. I think it was actually Nickelodeon. Because you could play as like the cow from back at the barnyard. Like a bunch of SpongeBob characters, Jimmy Neutron, Timmy from the Fairly Odd Parents.
That's cool.
Danny Phantom.
Flash games are just a lost art.
Yeah, I would say like here's like an underrated game that no one really we probably won't see revisited. Mortal Kombat versus DC.
Oh yeah.
Remember that? That was a very interesting. The only thing I really hated, they really toned down the violence. They made it more like a DC, but DC's gritty too. I don't know why they really toned it down.
Yeah, I don't know.
I know why. I remember. I was watching someone play. I don't even remember what. It might have been AVGN talking about it, or Matt. It might have been Mike actually talked about it, and he was talking about how like DC didn't want their characters to be depicted being torn apart. So they're like, oh, we don't want
Superman just gets fucking demolished.
Which would have been awesome to see because it'd be like ripping apart. It'd be cool, like, I don't know, Sub-Zero pulling out, like, kryptonite, ripping them, or, like, using bats and just tearing Batman apart. Or one of them like Shao Kahn using like Batman's parents, and you'd be like, oh, and then killing them.
Yeah, that reminds me. What was like a horror moment for you guys in games that just like shook you to your core? Because for me, it was in Mortal Kombat 9. Who was the guy with the hat? Was it the guy that had the hat? And Shao Kahn?
No,
it wasn't.
Shao Kahn. Quan Li.
Quan Li.
I
think so.
Yeah, I think it's Quan Li.
I
know what you're talking about.
But he had the hat, right? And this hat was like a saw blade that he put down on the ground, with like the edge just wedged into the floor, and then it would just turn to a saw, and he would just drag somebody like through this and split him in half, and they'd be like like, oh my god, and just like tear them in half and have like these two pieces. That one terrified me as a kid.
I love that.
And I looked back on it like a few years later. I'm like, this is not even that like because Mortal Kombat X at the time, dude, that was like. That was a baby's game at that point.
Yeah,
so.
Pretty much. I love 9 more, but they're both like 10 is more gritty, but they're both very cheesy because it's just blood and guts and everything.
It's like goofy, you know. But then they got to the more more violence.
Yeah.
What
was I gonna say? I'd say Resident Evil really scared me as a child. Like original Nemesis, not remastered Nemesis. Or like the classic scene in 1 where he turns his face. Yeah. And Doom 3, that really scared me as a kid. Because there's like a scene where you're going and you're with this dude, the scientist, like, and he's like, you don't know what's going on. And it's very like early 2000s. The graphics are terrible, but you see like a skull come in and he turns into a zombie. And as a kid, I was like freaking out. I was like, oh my god. Yeah. And my first rated M game, Dead Space 2, when like shit goes just off the bat of the game, you get saved by a guy and all of these necromorphs and you're powerless, you're like strapped up in a suit and you run. That would scare me so much as a kid. I'm like, oh my god, and I'd have like dreams where I'm running away from necromorphs. So definitely that was probably the scariest.
I'd have to say Sonic Adventure 2 when Sonic interrupts Shadow's dialogue. It was terrifying.
Yeah, that was really terrifying.
I think their lip movements were very terrifying.
Oh god.
All right, Shadow.
It's not even in sync.
Yeah.
And great band.
Well, because was it Japanese that they brought into America? So you just see their fucking gums flapping.
Like any anime ever.
Yeah, some of the ports are so bad.
It's so funny.
Lip reading.
I love it. It's so good.
Yeah, it's pretty goofy.
It's a great game though.
Oh, phenomenal game.
Yeah.
Crush
One
40.
Of the best Sonic games.
So good.
Yeah.
Sonic's kind of lacking in their games though.
They never really come out with anything.
Yeah.
They have the new one.
Sonic 2022?
That's coming out.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Well, Sonic Mania came out recently, too, and that was good.
Yeah. And then they made Sonic Forces after it, and everyone was like, dog shit.
And they just came out with Sonic Racing. That's actually really new. A new Sonic Racing game.
I've never been big on the Sonic Racing. Because why are they in cars?
I was going to say, make another Sonic R.
Yeah. But you feel like Jesse Pinkman when you play it. You're just like...
No, he played Sonic 06.
Yeah. Also racing, because there's a scene when they're playing racing.
But I can't get over the fact that in Breaking Bad, the only fucking games that Jesse Pinkman would play were Sonic 06 with
Sonic
his fucking kid. And he's like, dude, you're cheating. I'm like, no, that fucking game's just glitching out, bro.
The games suck. I think the 3 games depicted in Breaking Bad is Rage.
Yeah.
Remember when he's pretending to
he has the fucking gun.
The game Rage, which is pretty good.
It's a good game.
And then Sonic Racing is Sonic 06.
Yeah.
I don't know why those are the 3 games they went. Maybe it was like that's what Vince Gilligan had. He's like, I'm a big fan.
I love Sonic 06. It's a great game.
And gave it to him, and Brian Cranston was like, what the fuck is this?
Well, I don't know how to play this game. How about you? Did you know how to play this game, Aaron Paul? He's like, yo, bitch, I know how to play Sonic 06.
Yeah. But he played Hal and Malcolm Middle. They were always playing, what was it? It was like a N64, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's funny. Gaming.
Interesting. It would always be cool to have a arcade machine.
Yeah.
Specifically, a Mortal Kombat one would be the coolest one to have, like 1, 2, or 3. Because those are like endless. You could play them as, and you could do the Easter eggs. You get Noob Saibot and the red Ermac, pretty much, but he was called something else then. But yeah, that was always definitely a cool thing in like gaming, even like early 2000s, there were like just small stuff they had, and you wouldn't. It's not like the internet was huge enough, or especially as a kid, it's not like I was allowed to like go to the computer and like look up, oh, what's all these cheat codes on this thing.
Yeah.
So you had to like figure it out, or you'd never know until later. But you'd have to like find it, and you'd be like, oh my god, this is such a cool discovery. Now it's like instantly found.
Well, we were at like the tail end of when they were making those cheat code books in like the book fairs. Because I remember buying one way back in the day, and it even had like Game Boy Advance games on there. So this has been a while ago.
Oh.
But yeah, it had like Game Boy Advance. It would have it'd be a 2-sided book. So on the front it would be like all the consoles, and then you flip it over, and then it would be all the handhelds. So it just had like a bunch of G codes for a bunch of different games. They'd release them every few years. But yeah, no, I have a lot of nostalgia for those.
Yeah. It's pretty cool and interesting. They even made the stuff for the Advance. I remember, was it the Game Shark or whatever? That you can add cheats to and all that.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. The third-party stuff for the Game Boys were really interesting.
Yeah. Even the DS had like action replay, and I was always dude, I want to get an action replay, but it was always just like, Nintendo's gonna send those ninjas for your ass and kill you. Oh no, SpongeBob's dead.
The SpongeBob Advance.
He pulled out like Game Boy Advance with SpongeBob on it and tried turning it on.
Aren't there Patrick ones too?
I don't know.
When I went to Riptide with Bobby and all them, they have CRTs, like hooked up. And so for friendlies and everything. And one of the CRTs was a SpongeBob CRT, and we were all like, dude, we gotta do friendlies on the SpongeBob CRT, so of course.
That's pretty funny. Were they selling stuff at the convention?
Yeah, they were selling some stuff too. Like figurines and all that, stuff that you'd find at a convention of the sorts, so.
Yeah. Hungry Box figurines, Mango figurines.
Not exactly. Mango wasn't even there.
Yeah, they were selling mangoes.
They should have been.
Yeah, that would have been funny if they do that all of it.
Tastes good.
They do.
Yeah, mangoes are good.
Great. Yeah. Both mangoes are great.
They both taste good.
Mango got a haircut. So weird.
Yep.
I still haven't seen it.
His dad finally straightened him out.
See if I can pull it up. You guys talk about something while I pull up Mango's hair.
I ate my first bagel since we made the channel yesterday.
Really? Was it good?
Yeah, it was good.
Would you put cream cheese on it?
No, I just put butter on it.
Oh, butter.
You know.
It's interesting to put butter.
Put it on it. Put it in the toaster.
Here's Mango.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
He looks like a fat hungry bug.
He looks like...
Well, everyone was saying because there was a picture of him playing, but you only see his back, and everyone was like saying that it was Hugs.
He kind of looks like Jeremy McKinnon. A little bit.
Jeremy McKinnon.
The lead singer to A Day to Remember.
I don't know what he looks like.
he just has the Chris Sagala look, pretty much.
Yeah, actually, he does kind of look like Chris Sagala.
Jeremy McKinnon, Chris Sagala, and Mango.
Am I gonna go to Mango and you're gonna call me Holden?
What? What? That'd be funny because he knows me.
Yeah.
Mango's in like Florida or something, isn't he?
I don't know. He's everywhere.
I don't know. That's Bobby.
Yeah, Bobby.
Bobby, if you're watching this, type in the comments where Mango's at.
Yeah, you always know where all the gods are, so. Armada, where is he at?
Probably Sweden.
Which state is he in?
Which state is Indian? Despair?
I'll tell you what state he's in, retired.
Unfortunate.
Yeah.
You retired a little earlier.
He retired in 2017.
Yep.
And he retired on top, too.
Yep. Now Mango's the GOAT.
Yeah. Mango's back. Mango's the Tom Brady. Armada's like Peyton Manning, and Mango's like Tom Brady.
I disagree.
And Hungry Box is like Eli Manning.
Oh my god.
And then who else would? Dr. Pee Poo Poo.
What the PPMD? Why the fuck?
I don't think Pee Poo Poo is.
PPMD. I don't know. PPMD is probably my favorite.
He's like the Tony Romo of the.
Well, when he was competing,
he didn't win.
When he was competing, he was my favorite. He won some things.
He's MVP.
Was it no? I don't know. Something big. Forget. It's been so long since I've been. Bobby knows this shit off the top of his hand, dude.
Well,
He's probably like
he's a historian.
He's like, dude, fucking, you gotta know this shit. Sorry, dude.
He's a historian in Smashology.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's a smashologist.
Yeah, Bobby smashes all the time.
Dylan Sprouse actually commentated some Smash games.
Really?
Mhm. And he and the people he was talking to, he acted like he knew them his whole life. He was really cool with them.
No.
Did you talk to any of the gods? Or any of them?
I don't believe so, but it was like a smaller Smash event.
Oh.
But Dylan does a lot of cool things, and Cole, I just watched a video yesterday.
Oh yeah, the one you sent me. Yeah, I
Yeah.
saw the video yesterday too.
But it's interesting to see how like they're both doing very well.
Yeah, I kind of knew they always were doing good on
The only
Cole's
bad
movies.
The only bad thing I saw from Dylan's perspective, which wasn't even bad at all, but this is back in like
Oh.
Nothing. No.
this is back in like 20. Oh yeah. Oh, that's up. Okay.
Oh.
That was back in like 2014 when he like his nudes got leaked, but that's about it.
No, yeah, but it's not that bad of a thing.
That's what I.
Or it
just said.
said like he got more followers.
Yeah, he got more followers from it.
Um,
And he has a mead company in Brooklyn. So,
yeah, I saw.
So we got to go there.
Mm.
Or a brewing company. Yeah. Yeah, we do gotta go there. That'd be
Mead
cool.
company.
And then Cole actually unmasked something. Oh, I forget what country it was, but
Oh, yeah, I saw.
uncovered something, and that's pretty awesome because archaeology stuff
Some
is
mask
very
of
very interesting to me.
Damascus or something.
Yeah.
It's a weird name.
I forget what country it was. It's in South America, right?
Damascus or something.
Yeah, watch your language.
I think it was Bolivia or something.
Bolivia?
Yeah.
It looked like a desert.
I forget what they say, but the country starts with a B. That's all I remember.
Bulgaria.
I don't think it's Bulgaria.
Bolivia.
That's what I just said.
It was whatever country that has a desert, like Botswana or something. I don't know.
Okay, Holden. It's up. So can you post about it?
Post what?
About the video
What video?
that just got up.
Oh yeah?
Is
You
it
gotta
Snap?
send me the link. Or send me a photo.
Also
that
do
relates
Zelda.
to it.
Grayson, send him a random photo that relates to it.
What?
Oh, okay.
Send him a picture of Paul.
He already has enough stupid photos on his phone. Who are we
Yeah.
kidding?
Oh yeah, just use a picture of Paul.
Speaking of, it's pretty much time.
Yeah, just use a picture of like Paul or something.
Alright. But anyways, we gotta wrap
Grayson.
it up because Grayson's gotta clean up the ranch pile
Yeah.
in front of you.
I'm not cleaning that shit up.
With your tongue.
All right, Grayson, any last words?
No.
All right, Holden, any last words?
Yep.